Our goals are similar for the most part. We want to be happy, we want to be healthy, and we want to live long. It's in human nature to say we want, but it isn't in human nature to ask, what does it take? We as humans should follow our instincts, but our instincts have to be defined, worked out the same as our muscles are. Your approach to life must be full circle and encompass your mind, your body, and your spirit. I'm going to utilize a version of the behavioral change model, a little bit of psychology, and my experience as a fitness trainer to outline what it takes to become fit. The point of today's video is to help you towards a path of becoming fit. It is to show you how to use the vehicle of athletics and exercise in order to drive towards life's goals. I've never met anyone in my life who didn't want to run faster, jump higher, and live longer. Be more fit. What I have met is a really large number of people who don't know where to start. Well, the first step to becoming fit is to identify and change adverse behaviors, distractions, and deficiencies. So let's talk about it. How do we do that? Well, we use the model that I mentioned earlier. It's called the behavioral change model. We're going to use this model to create a plan for success. I'm going to outline each step of the model as well as provide some resources and examples to hopefully drive home what each phase means. The goal for this first video is to go over the first 3 steps of the model in depth while briefly touching on the other 2 in order to get you started on your journey. We're going to go over pre-contemplation, contemplation, and action. My goal for you by the end of this video is to get off the couch, or at least to plan to get off the couch. Change comes from within. The intangibles are often overlooked in pursuit of one's goals. In a second, we're going to go over the model, but before I do, I want you to envision future you. In order to become fit, you're going to have to believe you can become fit. You're going to have to understand what it takes to become fit, and you're going to have to grow. Here at the BCD, we have a motto. It's to draft the future you. And I believe that to be an important message to promote. I don't believe that we grow to be different. I believe that we grow to unlock our full potentials. So, before you continue, understand you are already enough and you already have more than what it takes. You just have to start. So let's start here. The behavioral change model has multiple layers as well as several degrees of depth. However, we're going to stick to the 5 general steps. We have pre-contemplation, contemplation, we have action, we have maintenance, and then we have relapse or escape. For today, we're going to keep it very surface level and focus on the start of change and the important considerations when planning to make a huge change in lifestyle. With that being said, let's begin at the beginning and let's talk about how starting can also be stopping. To start your fitness journey, you'll have to stop overthinking, you have to stop letting emotions come between you and your goals, and you have to stop being overly hard on yourself. Let's start with phase 1, pre-contemplation. For each stage, we're going to set a definition, we're going to set an application for general use, as well as an application for fitness specifically. So let's start with the definition. What is pre-contemplation? Pre-contemplation is what it sounds like. It is before you start thinking. In order to better understand pre-contemplation, I'm going to speak through a few dichotomies as well as analogies to better wrap our hands around this abstract concept. We're going to talk about how 2 things can be true at once, even if they at first seem contradicting. Let's talk about a quote and see how it plays into our mindset. The quote is, "I am what I am, what I'm not, I'll never be." For example, I am accountable and I am irresponsible. I am here and I am absent. I am with and I am without. Take that last one the same as you would take a glass half full and a glass half empty. If you were to take only part of each of these sayings, you will be biased towards what you perceive to be good. For instance, whether you're full or empty, some people might perceive that as a good thing. However, if you consume them as wholes, you would understand that no one is perfect. In short, this stage is about Getting over the overthinking and dichotomy that comes with anytime you want to start something new. There's going to be pros, there's going to be cons, but ultimately you have to get started. Another analogy would be tomorrow never comes. If you push it for later, if you push it for tomorrow, then ultimately it'll never come because you'll do it later, you'll do it tomorrow, or you'll do it next week. This isn't the stage for action. This isn't the stage for contemplation, but it is the stage in which you have to believe you can at least start. You can start today. You can start with an example, a declaration. You can declare, I am fit. By declaring, you'll be taking accountability and responsibility for your future thoughts, your future actions, and your future mindset. This is a little bit of cheating because it's combining pre-contemplation with contemplation. But if you get an A plus on a test, you have to give and plan to give yourself grace when you want to make a change. There will be distractions, hiccups, and adverse events. There will be days that you fall off, days in which you fail to feel fit, but don't be too hard on yourself. If you made it this far, you've made it far enough to initiate the first step. So let's move to phase number 2, contemplation. What is contemplation? Well, contemplation is when you've officially started, when you finally got off the couch and you're trying to make progress towards your goals. So, another way to think about contemplation is when you start to plan, when you start to think, and when you start to act, or I'll call it pre act. It's great that you declare change and you're ready to start, but there's a little bit more to it. We have to emphasize the difference between going from that pre contemplation stage to the contemplation stage. Just getting off the couch is pre contemplation. You don't have to actually make active steps. You know, when you're sitting there and you think, I want to work out or I want to practice healthy habits, that is that pre contemplation, even if it's just an uncomfortable feeling. The actual contemplation is when you declare that. That's when you begin to state and begin to make those steps to actually enact change. Contemplation is the stage in which you want to set things in front of you that you actually enjoy, that you can bear, and that you can consistently accomplish. If you are at a current state in which you don't want to do this, it's mandatory, and you dread being there, then your first step of contemplation is figuring out, how do I get to a point where I can stand doing this, I don't mind being here, and I enjoy the thought of going tomorrow. To truly benefit and experience the stage of contemplation, you have to set in front of you the things that you enjoy, the things that will benefit you, and the things that you can see yourself actually maintaining. Most of us, even personally, think, I have to do this, I gotta get here, or this is mandatory. What we should be thinking is, I want to do this, I would like to go there, and this is beneficial for me. It's easier said than done, and it's understandable that we all have responsibilities. But if you want to pursue your goals and you want to change your behaviors, then what you have to do is make a plan that isn't, I'll make it work or I'll figure it out. Your plan should be in place to create a life that you want to live. To create a life you want to live, to have the job you want to have, and to interact with the people that you actually want to be around. If you dread your current circumstances and are in the crowd that simply makes it work or figures it out, your glass is only half as full as it could be. If you're instead in the crowd where this is a beautiful day, I can't wait to see what happens, your glass will forever be full. At the end of the day, if you want to be fit, contemplation and pre contemplation will never get you there. At some point, you have to act. So it pains me to say, it's enough of all that. It's time to do. The action stage is pretty straightforward, but it is challenging because it requires action. It's time to accomplish the tangible, the replicable, and it's time to form good habits. Habits come about intentionally and unintentionally. For most of us, when we have unhealthy habits or bad habits, they are a derivative of unintention. Many times we can change our unhealthy habits with just a little bit of knowledge. About now, in terms of action, is how to form a habit intentionally. We're going to utilize Charles Duhigg's habit loop in which it contains three elements. It contains a cue, a reward, and a routine. The cue is the automatic trigger that prompts your behavior.
A reward is the positive reinforcement of the behavior, and a routine is the actual behavior. The first thing to go over is the cue.
A cue can be time, location, a preceding event, an emotional state, and or other people. When you're thinking about a cue or trying to identify a cue, try to identify negative cues that you can remove and try to identify good, solid, or reliable cues that you can sustain. For example,
If you pick a time that is outside of your schedule, it won't be sustainable. If you pick a person that is not on the same schedule as you, they won't be sustainable. So let's use the example of a 9 to 5 work schedule and talk about how when you have a solid schedule, you can fit a cue around that. In a 9 to 5 work schedule, everyone wakes up at about the same time, 6 or 7. They prepare for work or school, and they get there at around 8 or 9. Everyone takes a scheduled break around 11 or 12, and we finish our day around 4 or 5. You head back home, and you have just enough time to eat, to manage the home, manage relationships, and then rest and prepare for your next day. The reason that schedule was created a long time ago is because it's pretty manageable and pretty easy to follow. For instance, if I were to take the cue of when I wake up and go, when I wake up, I will work out. Of course, we cannot not go to work, but replace your life with that of an athlete. That same 9 to 5 schedule, some NBA basketball players utilize. They'll wake up at the same exact time as you. Instead of going to an office job, they'll go to the gym and work out. They probably eat around the same time as us as well. So just consider that as you're trying to change your habits. You want to find something that is very, very easy to manage. You don't want to make a cue something that is also all over the place.
the cue for any of those moments would be something such as your alarm clock, your lunchtime, or the time you get on the bus. These are things that are going to remain the same each and every time you do them. And for instance, if I wanted to change the time that I leave, well, I can say instead of waking up at 6, I'm going to wake up at 5 and I'll go to the gym before work, and that gives me an extra hour to do just that.
For the rewards, a reward is inevitably positive. Reinforcement can be positive and negative, but you want to give yourself positive reinforcement when you are, of course, doing healthy and good things. But some people like TV shows, some people like reading. Giving yourself something which, taking it back to that same example, when people get off work, some people like to take a hot shower, read a book. If you do that same activity after going to the gym, it will promote your going to the gym activities.
The routine is the actual behavior. The routine is the piece that we're focusing on today. The routine is what we seek. It is to become fit.
In the model, in the habit loop we just discussed, it is only suggested that you change your routine, which is why I was hinting at that example earlier, where if you have that routine, which a lot of people do, and some people don't, let's say you wanted to go to the gym. The perfect time to go to the gym, which most of us know, would be either before work or after work, because you already have that schedule in place in which if I go right after I get off work, I won't be changing too much. I already have the same cue. I'm going to get off at the same time. I'll hop in my car around the same time, and I'll get back to, let's call it, my home area around the same time. And the only thing I really want to change is right before I get home, I'll go to the gym.
Our routine is our goal, and our action in this phase is the setting of smart fitness goals in order to pursue a healthy lifestyle and a level of fitness that we seek. It is suggested that the routine is the only element you change. For instance, if we're using that 9 to 5 example, let's assume it were possible to change the act of going to work and instead place that with going to the gym or some fitness activity. With everything else the same, meaning your cues, your wake up, your travel, your reward, your dinner, your favorite show, your family time, you'd probably be the greatest athlete ever, right? But on a serious note, of course, that's not feasible or manageable. For most people, though, it is possible. My point was to show you that the proper plan can help your goals the same way a light bulb can help us see.
Thing. So there is evidence that take the good with the bad and find a balance in life. As we are trying to really change our lives and make it an action, make it a lifestyle, we have to be balanced. We cannot go from one extreme to the other extreme because it's simply not manageable. Before we move to the next stage, there are a few things I want to say that you might already know, but just reminders in case you're either writing it down or really trying to outline a plan. The first one is make sure that if you're making a goal, so for instance, if my goal is to become fit, that your goal is SMART. If you haven't heard the acronym SMART before, it's specific, measurable, achievable, replicable, and timely. The point would be the same as what we've been talking about, which is if I'm going to have a goal in front of me, I want it to be something that is consistent and something that I can actually work into my schedule. I don't want to just go, oh, I'm going to run 7 miles tomorrow and then be so hurt the day after that that I don't get to run again. Another thing is the idea of implemental intention.
There's two separate implemental intentions that have been noted to help. The first one is the if then implemental intention. It is to state your goals in a fashion in which it is if this, then that. So, for instance, if I eat a cookie today, then I'll do 10 push ups. It is a tangible thing that you can hold yourself to and is very replicable. The second implemental intention is I will insert behavior at insert time in insert location. This is another very specific way to set your goals in which you can say, I will walk at 6 p.m. as soon as I get home. What it does is gives you an actionable and replicable task to do each and every time that you get home. And then last but not least is the reward. The reward is the positive reinforcement of behavior. A reward in itself is positive in nature, though reinforcement can be both positive and negative. The importance of giving yourself a reward is so that you remember both mentally and physiologically, meaning from your mind to your body, you are reinforcing the fact that you did something good today. Rewards can be anything. Everyone enjoys something different. It can be as simple as a piece of chocolate or candy after a workout. It can be your favorite book. It can be your favorite TV show. It could be a nice, good dinner. Find something that you enjoy and reward yourself with it after putting yourself through something that can be a little bit more stressful. Rewards help you sustain the schedule that you actually picked.
All right, so we have two more stages to dive into, but before we dive into maintenance and relapse or escape, I do want to emphasize that both of those stages are well down the line. If you are just getting started, you definitely want to focus on the first three stages, especially when it comes to the action stage, because maintenance itself is the maintenance of action. So if you have done nothing yet, you're in pre-contemplation. If you're contemplating or starting to contemplate, you're at the stage where you need to start doing. And if you have started doing, we're going to talk about what it means to be consistent. But your goal is simply to be consistent. It's to do regularly, and to continue doing. Now let's talk about maintenance. I do want to urge that consistency really is key. And I'll repeat it, consistency is key. The next stage that we dive into is maintenance, and that's ultimately where most people fall off. Beginners fail, hobbyists fail, pro athletes fail. We all fail. But who doesn't consistently fail is the person that you want yourself to be in the future. We talked about setting goals, we talked about mental fortitude. If you want to be that person that you dream to be, you have to make the commitment to not give up on yourself. When you do fail, you have to make the commitment to get back up and continue, and things of that nature. Um, you have to declare again that the future you will put your best foot forward always. Similar to maintenance, I don't want to dive too much into the relapse or escape concept, but I do want to expose you to the ideology of what is realistic and logical expectations. This stage refers to the inevitable fact that all journeys are accompanied by setbacks and stories are written by the victorious. If not stopping was easy, then I wouldn't have a job as a trainer. You probably wouldn't have clicked on the video, and life would be pretty simple. The cycle of fitness is no different than the cycle of anything else. It's very easy to get caught in the valleys and peaks. I'm going to give you guys an example and then we'll go into depth. An example of a common relapse or escape moment would be the winter. And considering that none of us are from like the Game of Thrones, the winter is coming shouldn't be as scary as it is. Uh, for a lot of people in the spring, summer months, we tend to be more active. We get outside more, we sweat more, and we'll even make it a goal to actually, go to the gym. But as soon as it gets chilly, as soon as the winter seasons approach, as soon as our schedules get more busy, kids are in school, that can be a big catalyst to when we stop, when we relapse, when we go, oh, I don't have time, or oh, I'm too busy. But it can also be a catalyst for you to escape the cycle that we go through, in which compare yourself to someone who is an athlete, who is intrinsically motivated to work out each and every day. Whether it's raining outside, snowing, whether it's too cold, quote unquote, an athlete whose job it is to work out is going to get up every single day because that motivation, it comes from within. It comes from the goals that they told themselves. And you yourself have to be similar. You don't have to have the same goals as an athlete. You don't have to win a championship, but you do have to wake up and go, is it really too cold to go outside? Is it really too hard to get to the gym? And go from there.
Am I wrong? Was thinking that we could be something for real.
To those
Now am I wrong?
am I wrong?
For trying to reach the things that I can't see.
That you see.
Yo,
But
Vanessa got
that's
the
just how I
sauce.
feel.
Ooh.